America, my name is Osei-Frimpong. Today I am going to help you understand your elections for the rest of your life. So bookmark this video, subscribe to this channel, and come back again and again and again because your life will make more sense. The U.S. elections, including this last one, is always going to be a decision between socialism, barbarism, or kicking the can down the road. And this is because, as Rosa Luxemburg, I think rather astutely understood in 1915, bourgeois liberalism collapses. This idea that we can get everything we need in order to live a meaningful life from the market. That means all the goods, the services, and the information. You can get everything you need from the market. Works until it doesn't work, until we realize that market actors have their own interests, which are not necessarily our thriving. And so they get rich by getting us addicted to things we shouldn't get addicted to, telling us things that aren't necessarily true, and serving us in ways that are not particularly good for us. So this idea that we get all of the goods, services, and information we need in order to live a meaningful life from the market implodes. And so we need a state to save us from some of the excesses and the predations of the market. Now that state could be a barbarous one with like some sort of like ethnic supremacy and conventional but dicey values that will tell you what the market can do or can't do and shouldn't sell you and should tell you and shouldn't tell you. Or it could be a socialist one with institutions of self-determination up and down, where we decide as a people what we should do, what we're going to let the market sell us or serve us, or the kind of guardrails and strictures we're going to put on the kind of information we get. So we need to think about that when market liberalism collapses and not giving us the goods, services, and information we need in order for us to not screw up our lives. Right? So because we have to get goods, services, and information from somewhere. And if we're going to have a market, it tends to spread and become predatory. So it's going to come from the market if we're going to live in a market society. But then we need guardrails on that market. And this is why, for example, people voted for Trump so that he could keep the market from telling your kids to go trans. This is why to protect the culture. And market actors include teachers and journalists, right? So the cultural protection is going to be the issue, and it's going to either come in a barbarous form or it's going to come in a socialist form. And if it comes in a socialist form, it'll be shot down up and down with institutions of accountability and will reflect the self-determination of the people. Equality and accountability all the way up and down. The problem is liberals don't like that, because that keeps them from getting rich, and the barbarians don't like that because that keeps them from like the honor of their barbarism or the ethnic supremacy. And so you can't really get the off-ramp from the excesses of market predations from the liberals themselves, which is why, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world don't want the barbarism of Trump, but they also don't want the accountability measures of socialism because they want to be able to make the trades. They want to be able to depose a sitting president, as the way Pelosi deposed Joe Biden. Nancy Pelosi wants to be able to run for 30 years when she was a congressperson without having to debate a primary challenger. And there are many primary challengers who wanted to debate. But Nancy Pelosi says no, because she had bought the media, and the media cares about access, and it was rigged for her. And the quality of accountability measures that would make the United States a more self-governing nation, she would militate it against. Right? So liberals like the distortions of the market. Barbarians don't want that kind of accountability because they want a quality of ethnic supremacy, and complete with all of these strange internal gender relations. And so they both have an interest in stigmatizing the only real off-ramp to the collapse of market liberalism, which is going to be democratic socialism. Right? The only real off-ramp. Because what will happen is we'll choose the barbarians, and that'll work until we get kind of grossed out by the ethnic chauvinism of the barbarians. And then we'll will choose the liberalism. And the shelf life on that is not going to be very long, because in an advanced market society like this, the predations of the market become obvious rather quickly. There's no tradition to hold them back. So we'll only ever have a liberal Democratic president as a palate cleaner for 4 years before people will be like, we need to stop the internet. We need to, from creating genocides and radicalizing guys and making our women awful. And we need the unfettered market in a world with all of these drugs and all of this internet and all of this predatory capacity with artificial information, that implodes rather quickly. I don't know how long it took us to figure out that the market solution to something like healthcare was bad. We knew it was a problem since 92, but we didn't. It took us a while to realize that markets aren't going to fix this. I don't know. Are there still people who believe that Obamacare was the answer? Maybe there are. I have a hard time believing that that's true. But by now we have to figure out that more market solutions to something like healthcare isn't going to do what we need it to do. Right? It's a collapse of the market. So either we turn to barbarism, or we actually socialize the healthcare system, because more markets isn't going to happen. And so this is always going to be the problem in a market society, when everything depends on what is given to you by the market, and we understand that the market actors, including myself, have their own interests. By the way, if you appreciate what I'm doing, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50, because you want me giving you this kind of information rather than somebody who's sponsored by DraftKings or someone who's sponsored by, an ED medication, Big Pharma, right? So you want the only way I can be viable is if I'm funded by you. So I need you to go to www.funkyacademic.com, kick in $5, $15, or $50, sign up to be a member. I'll keep doing, and that's what keeps me from becoming one of the market predators, so that you get your information in a way that's not filtered by some sports betting site that wants me just to get black men betting on sports. You don't want this to be the poly market funky academic broadcast. So market liberalism gets predatory. It starts infecting your ideas, not just your stuff, not just your goods and services, but your ideas. And then you start realizing it infects the ideas of your loved ones. It's gotten to your spouses. It gets to your doctor. It gets to your therapist. It gets to your kids. And so you need a protection from it. You need a protection from market liberalism. And then what happens? And you see this even with Elon when he talks about the brain virus, the mind virus. He wants a protection from the mind virus. So either we go through a state protection through socialism, or we go state protection through barbarism. And the state protection from the woke mind virus, as Elon Musk would say it, the better help funky academic, came through barbarism this time. But it's always going to be the problem. This problem is not going away, because our markets are too advanced and they're too good, and we are too dependent on them, which is appropriate if we have, the democratic socialist state apparatus, which will allow us to rein them in. But for that state apparatus to be good, there has to be accountability measures up and down. And you know who's going to keep us from having accountability measures? People who are low-key, quietly invested in unaccountability. That includes a lot of white women. And I say this, and so it kind of circles back. But you have to look at everyone who benefits from not having accountability measures. Teachers who don't really want to be responsible for the inability to teach kids how to read. Who else benefits? Therapists who don't really want to be responsible for actually sustaining good families or mental health or getting you off their dole. The market model of therapy is really a disaster, right? Television entertainment that doesn't really want to give up getting you addicted to schlock. I don't let my kids watch TV. There's just so much schlock out there. News that doesn't want to actually be accountable for telling you the truth, rather wants to just kind of suck you in by telling you what you want to hear. All of these things are the way in which the market distorts the only way that you can interact with the world. Right? The media is supposed to mediate the truth for you. For you. But if it doesn't do that, if it's just trying to extract from you, then you'll get the quality of mainstream media that we have. So we have to understand what it means that the choice between socialism and barbarism will always be with us. Because, and it's not even a liberal patch isn't even going to work for 4 years now. It's only going to take 10 minutes before liberal solutions are manifestly inadequate. And then barbaric solutions will give us the ick, as the young girls say right now, rather soon, because they're going to be gauche. But then the real off-ramp, democratic socialism, and we had this off-ramp in 2016. We had it again in 2020. But we didn't take it because it would inconvenience some people's lifestyles. Is going to call for all manners of accountability measures, because in a real democratic socialist environment, you're delegating authority to families. Because there's some things that the state can't do. The state can't protect your kids the way a family can. So the democratic socialist state has to delegate its authority to families, and families have to be good. But it'll help you be good, and it'll explain to you what being good means, but it can't actually administer this, because families have to have authority over their kids, right? To protect their kids from the market. Because remember, this is the only reason why in an advanced market society this becomes an issue. The predation, who's going to control the predations of the market? That's the question. Is it going to be an accountable state that delegates authority to all of these non-state institutions like families or even other market actors or NGOs or other non-governmental authorities? It'll delegate authority to those to do the work. And then those authorities can also check the state. So everybody has an accountability measure in a democratic society. Or you pretend that you don't need an accountability measure with liberalism, and you allow the market to decide what jobs occur. You allow the market to decide, what your kids eat and all of that stuff. And you allow their decisions to do it. And that's a disaster. Or you allow barbaric traditions to do it. And that works out to be a disaster in its own way. So I hope this is clear. I hope you understand that I think increasingly liberalism is going to explicitly not be the way forward. Because the market will screw up it'll screw up your desires in a way that just creates pathologies. So we're going to need some sort of protection from the market. We can't just kick the can down the road by offering Clinton or Obama anymore. We need some sort of protection. The question is it going to be barbaric protection with a tinge of ethnic chauvinism? Or is it going to be democratic socialism with the delegated authority of a functioning state, but a state that delegates authority to functioning families and functioning other systems of actors, a functioning civil society, where all of these spheres check each other appropriately. If you have any questions, I'll probably do another one on this. But look, tradition's not going to save you. We're getting to be more sophisticated, and this is, I don't know, we need to figure some of these issues out, because just Trump imploding and us deciding to throw the thing back into the market in 4 years isn't gonna work, because we'll just have another opioid epidemic. Because the market is I'll be the Sackler Pharmaceuticals funky academic, and then tell you everything about how it turns out your real problem isn't the lack of philosophy. Your real problem is you have a diagnosis, and that your pain needs to be medicated away. And you need protection against that, and that protection is going to come through a family that's been empowered. Because as a Sackler funky academic, I can also tell you that you shouldn't listen to your family, and your pain is your own, and no one should tell you what to do. So if you want to, you should take my drugs. That's what the Sackler is a pharmaceutical company that owns Purdue Pharmaceutical. That was one of the drivers of the opioid epidemic. So what happens when all of your media is ridden through the market is like people tell you things that aren't good for you. So who's going to check that? Do you want the barbaric people, or do you want a well-run state? But a well-run state means accountability measures, and we just aren't honest about how we run away from accountability. And this is a gendered running away from accountability. We aren't honest about how the gendered commitment, especially for women, is about not being able to be held accountable. So they're always going to pick the liberal solution because the liberal solution allows them to keep not being held accountable. And that's a drug. That's a drug. So if you appreciate what I'm doing, which I think you should, www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, $50 a month. And I'll keep doing what I'm doing because I want you to not screw this up. I want you to not screw this up. And I want you to have the quality of thought and understanding and problem solving that so they can identify when market liberalism is becoming a predator. And you can also identify that the chauvinist barbaric answer isn't the answer, but also that a lot of the pushback you're getting from democratic socialism is a fear from like holding women accountable. Like, and accountability measures in general. Like, and just think about who in your life and about what do you have the hardest part holding accountable. And like, just think about how that this is not as this is not going to go away. So we couldn't hold Pelosi accountable. We couldn't hold Feinstein accountable for just like dying in front of us. We have a hard time holding women accountable for screwing up the Democratic like platform. The idea that abortion alone was going to be a good enough issue that it would subsume all other issues was a ridiculous thing. But nobody's going to tell women that like you're going to have to like slow your roll and relax about the issue that you care the most about. We just don't know. We don't have the resources to do that. Cultural resources to do that. We don't even tell bad mothers that they're bad mothers. We can't do it. We have a hard time. We have to quietly remove our kids from them and so like the accountability measures required for a quality of socialism that actually is self-determination is something we need to culturally prepare ourselves for. Or we'll just throw ourselves to the authority of barbarism, where we don't have to hold certain people accountable, and there isn't a presumption of equality of politically relevant character. All right. Thank you for your time. I will talk to you next week about something different, but I hope this was clarificatory in some ways. Peace.